All right, this next song I'll talk about is called Let 'Em Roll, written by Guy Clark. Guy Clark has kind of really become a very central and influential figure in the world of songwriters. He's from Texas, but he's been in Nashville since the mid-'70s. He's had songs cut by Jerry Jeff Walker, the Highwaymen, the list goes on and on. Steve Wariner, Ricky Skaggs, Bobby Bare. This tune is from his first record, which was like most people's first record. It really is kind of this quirky little experiment, and they're just kind of doing what they do. And there's a lot of innocence on the first record. One of the things I love about this song is it really kind of opened me up to a whole genre of songwriting, which is you meet the old weird character who influences you and you can't stop thinking about them. In this tune, the narrator meets an old man, and they befriend each other, and he just tells him his life story and how this one love relationship never really happened, and he dealt with years of loneliness and just being a human. And the way Guy focuses it and that tells the story, it just unfolds very beautifully. All right, here it is. Let 'em roll.
Now he's a wino, tried and true, and he's done everything that a man can do. He's worked on freighters, and he's worked on farms, and he's worked in cars, and he's worked in bars. Now he's an elevator man in a cheap hotel in exchange for the rent in a one-room cell. And his old years beyond his time, thanks to the world and the white port wine. Now it's the white port wine that put that look in his eye that a grown man gets when he needs to cry. He sat down on the steps to rest. His head just fell down to his chest. Now he said, son, he always called me son. The life for you, it's just begun. He told me the story that I'd heard before, how he fell in love with a Dallas horn. So let him roll, I said, let him roll. Gone down to Dallas, rest his soul. Let him roll, I said, let him roll. I said, he always said that heaven was the love of a Dallas whore. So he cut through the years to the very night that it all ended in a whorehouse fight. She turned his last proposal down in exchange for the life of a girl about town. So it was 17 years he rode that line, and I bet it wasn't straight none of the time. Too many days of fighting the weather, and too many nights of not being together. So let him roll, I said, let him roll. I said, he's gone down to Dallas, rest his soul. Let him roll, I said, let him roll. I said, he always said that heaven was a love Dallas home. And they were going through his personal effects, and in among the stubs, the welfare checks, was a crumpled picture of a girl in the door, in a dress in Dallas, and nothing more. So the welfare people, they provided the priest and a couple from a mission on down the street. Sang Amazing Grace, but no one cried. See one old lady way off to the side. We all left and she was standing there with a long black veil and a long silver hair. And old John, he said her name was Alice. She used to be a whore in Dallas. So let him roll, I said. said, "Gone down to Dallas, rest his soul." So let him roll, I said, let him roll. I said, "You always said that heaven was the love of a Dallas home." Yeah, you always said that love was a Dallas home.
So one of the things I love about that song is the story just keeps unfolding. On the original Guy Clark version, he does it a little more spoken than I do. It's a real kind of talking blues kind of thing with finger picking. And it has a real classic ancient troubadour kind of charm to it. It really is a very simple song in some ways. It's only 3 chords, 3 of the most common chords you can use in pop music. It's the 1, 4, 5, and country music, and a lot of the hill country backwoods music that Guy Clark writes about and grew up with. So musically, it's very simple. It's the same 3 chords that keep cycling over and over, and never really changes musically in that way. And when you keep the music that simple, it really becomes all about the lyric and all about the story. And I love how conversational this song is. It's a very simple rhyme scheme. He's a wino, tried and true. He's done everything a man can do. He's worked on freighters and he's worked on farms. He's worked in bars and he's worked on cars. Every single rhyme the entire time it's kind of completely predictable. The way he gets to each line it gives you a little kind of emotional complexity, which works against or with, because the music is so simple. You can really get into the conversational quality of it and let the story unfold. One of the things that Guy Clark does is you don't hear the chorus until the absolute end of the song, which, now that we know this character who's been this sweet old man who you met, lonely and confused, and then of course in the last batch of verses, he's passed away and we're dealing with his funeral and the aftermath of his life. So when we finally hear the chorus, the "Let him roll, I bet he's gone to Dallas," it's almost like his epitaph. And one of the things that I've been doing over the years of playing this song live, I kind of decided to break it up into 3 parts, really. So you hear that chorus 3 times, and each time you get to it, it kind of means something a little different. There's a real power of repetition in pop music, country music, jazz, blues, whatever it is. As people, as we communicate, when you drive home a point and then drive it home again, you're at the risk of becoming boring. But if you keep interjecting some new information along the way, it brings you back to that same meaning, and it gets even more meaning each time you get to it. You know, the best stand-up comedians who keep coming back to that same kind of punchline. It means something more and something deeper, and just the second you hear it again, you already want to laugh. In the case of this song, what I love, and at least the way I've kind of rearranged it a little bit, so that you get the power of that chorus 3 times throughout the song. The first batch of verses is about meeting this old man and your impressions of him. You sat down on the steps with him. He was an elevator man in a cheap hotel. He worked, and he's this vagabond. And then he literally says, you know, life for you has just begun. And so you are this narrator, you and the narrator just kind of looking at this old guy, kind of wondering who he is. He's kind of mysterious. Then you get the chorus, "Let him roll," and it's this kind of triumphant thing about him surviving. The second verse, or the second set of verses, we're talking about how he cut through the years to the very night when this relationship he wanted to have happen with this whore in Dallas. She denies him and moves on. She's got other things in life, and he just can't let go. And then, of course, for 17 years, he's riding the rails and living the life of a lonely vagabond. Then we get to the chorus, and means something a little different. Then we fast forward after the little instrumental section to he's now passed away. And it's the effect that he's had on the narrator in the song, and hopefully the effect that he's had on us as listeners, and also the effect he's had on this whore in Dallas, who after all these years of not really talking to him, shows up at his funeral 17 years after the fact. It's just a very poignant moment when you finally hear that she's the one at the funeral, and that this old man has meant exactly what she meant to him in her life. And even though they were apart this whole time, love really does matter in the face of everything else. Yeah, Guy Clark has a really wonderful way of kind of being very wise, but very zen-like in this very spoken and soft-spoken and seemingly simple way. Guy Clark has also been just hugely influential. People like Lucinda Williams, Steve Earle, Ryan Adams, me, an endless slew of the famous, the not-so-famous, the inexperienced, the very experienced. Guy Clark really had a great gift for melody, what to do with chords, and how to have a story unfold in a way that felt very honest and very universal.